Alright, today we're going to do something a little bit different on my channel. Yesterday I helped out a friend and worked on his 2011 Dodge Grand Caravan. We had an issue with the fuel pump not coming on. These are very common issues on a lot of the Dodge products. Is what it ends up being is it's a relay inside the tipm module. The tipm module, it basically houses all of the fuses and relays. From the dealership, if you were to have it repaired at the dealership, the part itself costs a little over $1,000. So there's a way to do it yourself where you don't have to pay that, and it's basically just a completely separate relay, and you're bypassing the one that's in the module. So first thing you need to do is you need to disconnect your battery, your positive and your negative. You're going to want to remove the battery for easy access to the module. You want to open it up. You've got this positive cable. It runs right here. You've got a bolt up top. It's a 13. You're going to want to remove that. This wire is part of the repair. So we're going to remove this, move it out of the way. And you're going to want to get a pocket screwdriver or something that you can remove some tabs with very easily. So you have a tab here, and what you do is you push it in towards, and you pull up on the bottom of it on either side. There are 4 of these, one on each corner. Sometimes they're a little bit harder to come out. You just got to work with it. So then what you do is you're going to lift the entire thing up. You got to be careful of the wires. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do in this position is you're going to want to remove this connector for easier access, and you'll also need to access a wire in this connector. You have this red locking tab here. You can use your pocket screwdriver to pull up on. This connector folds up to unlock it. You might have to grab the bottom of it and kind of shake it a little bit. And there's a tab right here you got to push down on. You might actually even have to sometimes get your pocket screwdriver in here and wiggle it a little bit, or a bigger screwdriver if you need it. Alright, so you get a bigger screwdriver, it'll help out sometimes. You're going to want to put it in between the 2 pieces here and kind of push on it a little bit and pull up on it. Be careful not to break anything, because if you break it, it will not lock back in and you will lose connection. And sometimes you can get it in here like this. Just work it. Just like that. Alright, move that out of the way. This one is the same. So you can grab your pocket screwdriver again, pull up on the tab. There's going to be a tab under here you push down on. You pull up on it. Kind of work it the same way you were working the other one. Now that's removed, it makes it easier to get to the other ones. The other one we're going to do is going to be down here. It's a black connector, and it's got a tab that you've got to push in on here and pull up on this. This one, I found it's easier to use the screwdriver to push in on the tab. So you push in on the tab, pull up on that connector. And this one comes off just a little bit easier, so you want to move this out of the way. You're going to need both of these connectors. Just kind of work the blue one out of the way. The last connector on the module you're going to need is going to be this big one here. This big one works just like this black one did. So you're going to have to get your screwdriver, and on the back side of here you might not be able to get to it. This one's going to be a little bit easier because I've already disconnected it and I'm able to push it in with my finger, and you just pull back on this right here, just like that. Kind of work it out. Be mindful of other wires. Don't want to pull on any of the wires. And you can just set this to the side. Now, other repairs that I've seen, they say to remove this entire module. We did not have to. Now, the relay in question is also on top, but there's something inside here that you lose connection with. So when you go to the dealership, you can actually purchase this. That's the part number for the relay. Comes with the wires, it comes with heat shrink, it comes with little crimps. I prefer not to use the crimps myself. I like to either use solder or butt connectors. So in the repair, let me grab a, wait, here we go. Okay. Now this is what you're gonna get. There's no color coding. They don't give you any kind of instructions or anything. So what we did is we talked to a friend up at the dealership and they let us take some pictures of theirs so that we can actually get the color coding and match with the wiring harness. Alright, so I went ahead and removed our electrical tape here. That way I can actually help trace where these wires are going. Alright, so you have your notch here. If you have it sit right here, the wire, the small blue wire closest to that notch, it's going to come around. It's going to go to your brown connector. Now this brown connector I do already have taped up. You'll have to access 2 wires in this connector. For that to happen, you're going to need to push this tab back this way. You will need this to be removed. It will be a lot easier. So you take your pocket screwdriver here. You're going to pull up on these tabs, kind of keep a little bit of pressure on this. Be very gentle. You don't want to break this. You want to keep it intact. It helps keep the wires where they're supposed to be going. You have 4 of these. One right here, here, and here. Set that to the side. You will need to reinstall it. Alright, we've got our notch here on our relay. We've got these 2 smaller wires. These 2 smaller wires are our signal wires. And then we've got these 2 larger wires. One of them is going to be our hot wire, and one of them is going to be our fuel pump wire that leads to the fuel pump. Now, we're going to go ahead and cover just our blue wires first. This blue wire closest to our notch on our relay comes around, goes into this brown connector here. Now, this wire is the only wire you are not going to have to cut. This one you're just going to want to splice open just a little bit, and you're going to either solder, or if you want, you can butt connect and connect them that way. It's going to be better for you if you just cut it open just a little bit, just about a section about this big, and put it in there and solder it together. Now you will also need to slide over heat shrink to this connector on this wire. So to do that, you're going to actually have to pull the wire out of the connector. You've got this green locking tab here. You're going to want to take your pocket screwdriver. Be very careful when doing this. You've got a little tab a little piece right here you can pull up on. Kind of work it up. There's one on the opposite side of it as well. You can just get it up. Now you can either remove it all the way to make it a little bit easier, or you can leave it. We chose to remove it all the way. So I found the easy way to do that is push this in right here, kind of get a little pressure. Be very gentle, you do not want to break it because it actually locks all of those pins and those connectors together. Do the same on the other side. Set that to a side. Now, you got your big wire here. You got this small wire with the pink. It's pink with the green trace in it. So you're gonna flip it over, and that's gonna be on this opposite side. That's gonna be this connector right here. Now there's a small, tiny little brown piece that you can get this into. Be very careful. You want to pull it back, and it might have, there we go, and it disconnected. So then you can slide your heat shrink over the wire and down onto where you just made that splice into this wire at. You can just put it back in. Sometimes you'll hear them lock and sometimes you won't. So if it's not locking back in, you're gonna need to check on this little plastic piece inside here. You need to move it over or push it back up against it so that it locks back into place. And you're gonna push down on it, make sure it's in there nice and tight. You want to take your lock right here, and you're going to put it back in, and it just snaps right in. Just like that. So now you got your wire in there, and it's nice and tight. Now the next one we're going to do, back on our relay, so we just did this one. The one on the opposite side here goes around to our big connector here. This is the black connector. So you got blue wire here, you got this pink wire here. This line behind it, there's a wire right here. It's a brown wire that comes off. You're gonna wanna cut that one, and this blue wire splices right into the end of it. You can either solder it and then heat shrink it, or you can butt connector it. This one we decided to try the heat shrink. Now this heat shrink that comes with the kit, you heat it up until glue comes out of it. And that glue helps seal it from the weather. On back to our relay, we have our two bigger wires. This one right here that is closest to our notch in our relay, we're going to not worry about right now because that is the one that we're going to connect to our main positive. This is going to be our hot wire. So we're going to take it and we're going to put a little eye lid on it. And we're going to set it to a side for now. This other one on the opposite side of it is going to be the one that goes into our wiring harness that leads to our fuel pump. Back to our brown connector here. It's going to be this wire. If you're looking at it with this folded down, it's going to be this blue wire with a orange trace on it. This one you're going to cut, and you're going to tape it or heat shrink it. We decided to tape this one to see the difference between the two, and that just is same. You can either put them together, solder them together, or butt connect them together. And that is how we're done with the harness and everything. We can start putting it back together. and make sure we have this one where we can get to it easily so that we can connect this to our positive. Alright, now that we've distinguished where each of these wires go, we have them all securely tightened, we have everything taped up, we're going to take our black cover here, I'm going to put it back on our brown, and it just snaps on, just snaps back into place here. We're going to, don't forget to fold this back up on the other side of our other tab here. Now on our relay, it has a little slide right here. It has a metal tab that goes on here for a bolt, and that's going to be down in here. We decided we put it right here, this way it's out of the way, and just slide it up on here. Oh, you're gonna go back this way, and it just kind of locks on there. It's nice, secure, it's out of the way. You'll be able to tuck it up. And you're gonna watch these wires, make sure they're out of the way as well. So we'll move this wire here, and we'll place it to where we can get to it easily so that we can attach it to our positive. And these wires, you might have to fold them back around each other to where they go. I'm going to grab our tipm module, and we're going to reinstall all the connectors in reverse order. So we're going to go ahead and put this brown one in first, this brown and this black one, and it doesn't matter which one you put in first, it's still going to go in. You're going to place it in there, you're going to push that tab in, and it's going to start folding in, and it's going to kind of lock itself in. You can put a little bit of pressure against it to help it lock in a little easier. When you hear the little click, it's behind that. Pull on it, make sure it's in there good, and then you can tape these up to where they look a little bit nicer. We used green electrical tape, that way we know where we have made, or if anyone ever is in here again, it's not just black electrical tape, it's green electrical tape. That way we can see that it has been, someone has been in here. And the next one we're going to do is going to be our black connector. And make sure this tab is facing towards the bottom, and it's going to slide in the same way. So you're going to put it in there, start pushing it down, and kind of give it a little pressure. You hear a little click, and that's in there nice and tight. You want to work around your other wires here. Be very careful with how you're working around these wires. Just fold back around and put the blue connector in there the same way. So you can get it in there. You start pulling back on it, and it's going to slide it up into place. You hear a little click, and it's going to be latched in there. Your red tab, make sure you push it back down, because that's going to lock it so that it doesn't come undone for any reason. Our last one to go back in is going to be our green connector. I'm going to put it in here. You're going to make sure on here that these tabs slide up in there. See, it already started to move, so you can go ahead, pull it down. You hear the little click. That little click was it snapped into place. It's in there nice and tight. And push your red tab back down. Sometimes you might need to grab a pick or your pocket screwdriver to make sure they are locked in. A little bit easier to push on than on your fingers sometimes. Now everything is all in there nice and tight again. I'm going to take our module, and we're going to work the wires around in here. Set it back down into place. Make sure none of the wires are in the way. gonna click into place. Open it up. This is where that positive wire went. So you're gonna go ahead. You might have to put a little force on it to get it pulled over. And this is where we're gonna put our hot wire at. Now you can get and you can cut here and you can put in a fuse. We have not done that yet. That's gonna be a future thing. We're just making sure everything works properly. Put your eyelid on here. You'll reinstall your bolt. We're not going to tighten this down. This is just for demonstration purposes. You'll reinstall your battery. You'll reconnect your negative and your positive, and you're done. Alright, and that is how you install the relay on the 2011 Dodge Grand Caravan, and that will fix your tipm module issue with your fuel pump. Alright, y'all have a wonderful day.